Is it great to walk around with just like your name sign and just hanging around?
It's different, yeah.
Get like a chain, like Flavor Flav. You could have like a clock around you.
That'd be good. A clock.
So I don't want to push you on Bullet Train because I'm sure you can't say very much about it. But let's just talk about The Kingsman. I actually watched it Friday night, completely unrelated to you, but a wonderful surprise anyways.
Cool.
The music really does propel the narrative in a lot of ways. How much are you thinking about that when you're composing versus other things that you're taking into account when you're composing the music? Like, how narrative are you being with
all
it?
the time? I mean, it's what drives the whole process. And more often than not, what's not happening immediately on screen, what you're trying to, the arcs you're trying to sow the seeds for and lay pipe for. So, you know, with chord choices, with melody choices, you're always thinking about the narrative. You're always thinking about the character. What's their arc? What's the whole overriding arc of the film? So it plays a huge part. You know, and with any film, I would normally get the script first. So, and then literally it's just story. There's nothing to indicate to me what the tone of it's going to be other than the words on the page. So I like doing that. I like reading scripts and getting ideas and just going for it. And if it fits with the director's vision, then great. If the pictures then come and, you know, it needs to change, then fine too. But it's a good head start for me.
Makes sense.
Hey, so growing up, who were your biggest music inspirations? Who kind of inspired you to pursue a career in this way?
Well, growing up, I wanted, you know, like lots of young musicians, I wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. So, I mean, a huge part of my musical diet was the Beatles, the Beach Boys, Eric Clapton, basically what my parents listened to. And I have an older sister, she's 5 years older than me, so then, you know, I was getting into Britpop and then everything from like R&B, hip-hop to happy hardcore and jungle. So I had, from a very young age, I had a very classical diet because both my parents are classical musicians, but also because of my sister and all that stuff, I had a very kind of production and song-based diet too. So that's what inspired me to be a musician. I mean, I guess like most of the people here, to be a film composer, John Williams was the main inspiration for me. And as I said in the panel, and the score to Back to the Future. So Sylvester and Williams were my two guys that were hugely influential in me becoming a film composer.
Back to the Future is so expansive with all the different themes. I mean, it's whimsy and slapstick, and then it's emotional and forthright and sincere. It's a great,
serious without being too much for kids, and it just toes every line perfectly.
It aged really well. I was just listening to it actually a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. It's a great score.
And just that style of movie making too. I think it's coming back. It feels like it's coming back.
Right.
I just watched the Adam Project. It has a very, I know it's time travel based, so it's a bit on the nose, but it did feel very of that kind of late 80s feel, that Amblin Zemeckis vibe that just allows you to just forget the world and just enjoy and just go into worlds and enjoy it. So I hope it's coming back.
Can we talk process a little bit? How do you approach writing your main theme, which is front and center and people are paying attention to it, versus writing underscore? Is it the same process and just different emphasis, or do you approach them differently?
It's a different approach, I think, and it's always a different approach depending on what film I'm doing. But more often than not, it's me sitting at a piano and working out the main theme on a piano before I even move to the computer, before I even decide what kind of style, what genre it's going to be in. If the main theme works on a piano, it's going to work on whatever you do. But that's for the more kind of traditional orchestral scores. When I'm working in a more production-based electronic score, I like to just gather sounds and just start playing with them. Mm-hmm. And just see what comes out of there melodically. Money Monster, for example, I had 3.5 weeks to do it, and I just got all the sounds I thought related to the film, threw them all in the sequence, started messing with them, and then through delays and all kinds of production, a lot of the melody kind of happened through that, almost by accident, which is kind of cool. Sorry, I've gone off the second part of the question.
No, just approaching the way you approach underscore, which is just persistent and down below and not supposed to draw attention. Yeah.
So from that melody and from that harmony that I've chosen, the underscore is like, you know, taking a pipette in there or taking a syringe and then just sort of like making sure I like to have a strand of DNA through everything I do. So whether it's a character theme or whether it's the main theme, the underscore, I hope, will always reflect back to that. Not be massively overt, because obviously you can't stick melodies all over underscore because it's going to get in the way, doesn't it?
Right.
But I think it's important that it all feels related. Yeah.
So you've worked with a number of directors over your career. I imagine some of them have comments very regularly, some of them kind of let you work through your process. What do you prefer? Do you want a director that's more collaborative, or do you want to kind of have your process and then have them chime in?
I love collaboration. That's the one thing I can say about Bullet Train is that the collaboration with Dave has been so amazing and so liberating, and being able to kind of have a seat at the table and you talk. The way I see it is there's two words in my title, film and composer. I'm not just a composer. I like to think of myself as a filmmaker too. So having that collaboration and having that back and forth, whether it's them musically and myself from a film perspective, I think it's really important. So my preference is collaboration. I mean, there's times when that can kind of, the waters get muddied and it gets a bit tricky. And there's times when, directors just want you to go away and do something and present them with things and then they can have an idea and a thought from that. So I've gone in all different directions with that, but I love having a strong collaboration with the director. I think it really helps the end project, the result.
Having worked in television and film in significant projects in both, can you talk a little bit about the difference in the grind and in the workflow of doing episodic television versus a feature film?
Yeah, grind is a good word. Episodic TV, and it ranges even within that. So I've done shows that you've got 5 days to turn over a score, and I've done things like High Castle, which is more like 2 to 3 weeks to get an episode done.
Right.
The thing I love about it is you don't have time to kind of go over every single option. You have to, you just have to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong. And I look back at some of the things I've done, and maybe I made the wrong decision on that day. Right. But that's the good thing about that process. I do, however, prefer the movie process because I do like to kind of get in the lab and figure things out, go through all the iterations. What's the best idea? If it is the first idea I come up with, I have to have gone through everything else to get back to that, so I know that it's the best idea.
Right.
And just having the time to play is nice. And I think maybe 5-6 years ago I would have said the opposite. Just want to get it done, get it,
right.
Get it. But now along with the collaboration and the exploration and experimenting, I'm really into that right now.
Do you worry about second guessing yourself? At this stage of your career, do you second guess yourself a lot in those moments? Yes. Damn it never goes away.
No, I do. And that was the wonderful thing about growing up in the remote control world, is that there were so many wonderful talents and composers there. You could always pop into someone's room and be like, hey, would you mind listening to this? Or if someone comes in, hey, would you listen to this? And tell me if I'm mad, tell me if it's terrible.
Right.
And it's been difficult during COVID because I do like another pair of ears. So often I'll print something and send it to someone I trust and be like, am I mad with this? Does it work? I like to have back and forth, whether it's someone I trust or with a director.
And so I imagine over your career you've probably faced a number of creative blocks where you just cannot figure out how to move forward. Do you have any techniques that you use, or do you just kind of take a step back? What's your process with that?
Well, good question. Creative blocks. I mean, stepping back is always important, whatever you're doing, and even if you're, if you're really motoring and I like to take a step back because if it feels too easy, it's like, well, maybe I need to kind of come back at this in the morning.
Right.
I think creative blocks, it's just that thing with experience. Actually I was talking about this with Kurt earlier. It's like, because we've done it so much, it's almost like when there is a creative block, you switch to that autopilot and ways of getting around it. And then you can always come back and revisit it if it's not quite the right thing. But it's more kind of not being happy with what you're coming up with than a creative block, I think with all of us here today, it's that we've got so much stuff going on in our head musically that we can always find something. It's just whether it's good enough and it reaches our bar of whatever it needs to be. So maybe that changes. Talk to me in like 5 years, I'll be like, oh my God, the creative block is agonizing. But currently it's, you find ways of getting around it.
With shows like DuckTales and Man in High Castle and then Bullet Train and Kingsman, your genres are all over in what you work in. Do you have one that you prefer to write for or listen to?
The easy answer is no, but
the truthful answer.
The expanding answer is that I really love jumping from one thing to another genre-wise, because I feel like anything, if you're doing too much of the same thing, it will get stale, you'll get bored of it, and it doesn't work. So the fact that, when you look at my IMDb page, it's got loads of different things on it, that's because I love all those things. And in some projects I get to mix them all in one, and other projects it's just focusing on one of those things. But it's really important for me not to do the same genre one after the other, because with musical muscle memory, it gets stale. So I like to jump from DuckTales to Man in the High Castle to Kingsman to Monsters at Work. So I'm constantly flexing those different muscles so my music doesn't get stale.
Okay, so what is the best piece of career advice you've gotten that you would want to share?
Oh, wow. The best career advice is so cheesy, but it's so true. Like, if you really, especially in this job, you've got to want it so bad that nothing else matters. And that, if you put everything into this, you will get out what you want at some point. I think, I've moved 6,000 miles away from family. It's what I've wanted to do since I was 14, 15 years old, falling in love with film music, and there was just nothing that was going to stop me. And again, it's crazy cheesy, but it's sort of kept me going. That mentality is what got my foot in the door in the first place, and I just made sure to walk through that door and grab it with both hands. On a more kind of practical note, I think just listen to everything, learn as much as you can, become a sponge, whoever you happen to be around, and just keep going, because if you want it that bad, and you'll realize along the way if you do want it that bad, and if you do, it's going to happen. I know that's cheesy.
I think, we're good. If you want to take a break, you can. But she gave us the 2-minute sign like 5 minutes ago. But
yeah, I can answer other things if you want. I don't mind.
There's a great question in the panel about the score that means the most to you, but Kurt, maybe when he mentioned Sean's 24 panel, do you get to listen to a lot of your contemporaries' work? Do you ever find yourself like humming their stuff in your brain? There's John Williams and the Silvestris, the yesteryears, but more contemporary peers of you. Do you listen to a lot of their work? Are you influenced by a lot of their work?
I do through the medium of TV. I actively I don't go and listen to scores unless I've seen it first.
Right.
And I do. One that stands out, and I don't get to watch that much TV, but I thought the White Lotus score was a really great way of flipping that genre up and doing something different.
Right.
That was in my head for a long time. And it's mainly kids movies, because I've got 2 little kids, so it's mainly that stuff that sticks in my head, because they're constantly watching kids shows and all that kind of stuff. But through word of mouth, if someone says to me, "Hey, you got to check out so-and-so score," I'll go check it out.
Right.
But juggling projects, and I'm in my own bubble so much, it's almost like an unwanted distraction to be like, well, that's really good, but I don't want that to infiltrate my brain, because I don't want to go down that road.
No, for sure, yeah.
And like my musical taste, I tend to go back to the 60s, 70s, 80s and listen to that stuff to kind of unwind. There's a part of me that doesn't really want to be in the world I'm in if I'm just chilling, because I'll switch on. So if I'm listening to a Sean score or a Kurt score and I'm thinking, oh, that's cool, I'll switch on and won't be able to just chill out.
with Bullet Train in the can, is there a new project that you're starting to work on that you could tell us about? Even if you can't tell us about it, what the project is?
Yeah, I'm doing a couple things. I am doing a cool TV show with the guys at Scott Free, which I can't say what it is, but sort of like getting the High Castle band back together. That's with Netflix, and then I'm doing actually the guys that David and Kelly. David's the director of Bullet Train, and Kelly is his wife and producer of the movie. They're producing a movie called Violent Night, where Dave Harbour plays Santa Claus. So that's a really cool. I'm not going to say too much about it, but that's a really cool movie coming up. And I'm also doing the score for What's a Christmas? A movie called Spirited, which is a Pasek and Paul musical with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds as the two guys.
Are you doing the music for it or the songs for it?
I'm not. I was
gonna say Pasek and Paul. They're doing the songs, right?
Yeah, yeah, you guys do the score. I'll do the songs. That would work. But so yeah, lots of Christmas, lots of fun stuff. There's other things I'm doing later on in the year that I can't talk about, but it's nice to be busy.
Yeah,
my wife will tell you differently, but I'm enjoying being busy.
Are you going back into studios, or are you still? Is the world still remote at this point? Or?
No, I mean we recorded a lot of Bullet Train in studios. I mean everyone was masked, but as I said, I mean a lot of bucket list studios in LA and a lot of bucket list musicians I got to work with, all with a napkin on our face. But
sure.
Yeah, but it's. I think we're getting back to that. It's great.
It's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.